Hi, and welcome back to the Save It for Parts channel. As a satellite hobbyist, these days it feels like you can't go a week without the US government destroying some kind of scientific satellite system. We've lost NOAA 18 recently, we're supposedly losing the DMSP military weather satellite fleet, and now we've just gotten word that NOAA 15 and 19 are both going to be retired suddenly. They're basically shutting down next week as I film this. I might not even be able to get this video finished while these satellites are still operational, although I'd like to try because they are some of the easiest satellites for amateurs to pick up, and they are something that I really recommend people try to do as a beginner in the satellite field, especially while they're still up there, because once NOAA 15 and 19 are gone, that's kind of the end of an era for easy to use United States weather satellites for hobbyists, for amateurs, for school kids, for radio hams. There's not going to be a lot of other options other than Russia's Meteor program, which is kind of unreliable. And then there are some European satellites that use L-band, which isn't quite as easy to get into if you're just a raw beginner. So basically, this is your last chance to get into VHF weather satellites, at least when it comes to United States weather satellites. This is really bumming me out because these are satellites that I started with when I started getting into the hobby. They were an easy gateway into space radio, into satellite weather stuff, into all kinds of software-defined radio, ham radio, scientific stuff. They're really a cool resource for STEM, for kids who want to learn about science and technology, or adults who want to learn about science and technology. So losing these two satellites, I think, is going to be a big blow to United States science literacy and radio literacy. And unfortunately, it's just kind of a pattern with the current administration, just axing anything interesting, just cutting anything that benefits science and technology. And yes, I know these satellites are a little old. NOAA 19 was launched in 2009, and NOAA 15 was launched way back in the 90s. So these have both actually outlived their original design life, and unfortunately they've been replaced with more modern satellites that use much more difficult radio systems to eavesdrop on, to connect to as a radio amateur. The JPSS system, which is the replacement follow-on for the NOAA Polar Series, uses X-band for its downlinks, which I don't have any way to get X-band right now. All my antennas here are either L-band, I have some C-band, some KU-band. These are all kind of other satellite frequencies that are easier to receive. You can get used equipment to receive these, or you can easily build equipment to receive these, like this L-band helix that I just made with some pieces of balsa wood and wire. Unfortunately, X-band does not have as much equipment on the used market. It does not have as easy of a process to receive. I will be trying X-band at some point, but that's outside the scope of this video. It would be kind of fun to try to receive all three of the radio transmissions from these NOAA satellites while they're still around. The VHF transmission, automatic picture transmission format, the L-band HRPT format, and the S-band HRPT format. And I do have equipment to listen to all of those frequencies, although I think I might want to try to set up some new equipment to use this as an excuse to actually get a more permanent L-band setup. I know that's kind of ironic because we're losing these satellites. It seems silly to get a permanent L-band antenna to listen to them, but there are still some European satellites because science is still important in Europe. This dish here is an L-band system, but it's kind of inconvenient. It's not really weatherproof, and I have to drag this outside if I want to use it. Likewise, this little guy is a L-band receiver that I hacked together with some 3D printed parts on a television satellite receiver for a RV. But that one's also not really weatherproof because the 3D printed parts are too big to fit in the original dome. So I want something that will be able to sit outside on my garage roof permanently. Now I have an S-band antenna up there. That is another hacked RV antenna. That is a Winegard Traveler model. And if I can get to it here, I went away for 2 weeks and I came back and the squash and pumpkins have just taken over my ladder. So I have to see if I can get up there without squashing any squash. So like I said, this one is another portable satellite dish for a recreational vehicle. It's designed to mount on the roof. It folds down flat when you're driving around, and then when you get to your campsite, it unfolds and it points at your TV satellite. I've modified this one with some more 3D printed parts. And I'm actually pleasantly surprised that the 3D printed helix here has held together. This is not really heat proof or UV proof, but it's been up here all year and seems to be okay. Likewise, my electronics for S-band seem to be okay. I've put them in a Ziploc bag with some desiccant pouches and some silicone. So basically have a filter amplifier combo stack in here that just improves the signal strength, and that seems to be okay. Now another system that I have set up for NOAA is this little box. This is a QFH or quadrifilar helix antenna. Some people call it an egg beater, but this is made out of plumbing parts, and that goes down to this system, which uses a Raspberry Pi computer. I can get into it here. It's kind of a mess in there, but we've got a Raspberry Pi with a software-defined radio listening to that antenna for the NOAA VHF APT system. I've shown this in a couple prior videos of kind of how I built this. There's actually another Raspberry Pi in here that listens to the geostationary operating environment satellite. So the other Raspberry Pi is listening to this dish that's pointed at goes east. Anyway, my little tinfoil lined box there has been having some issues. I think I need to reinstall the Raspberry NOAA system that actually receives and automatically decodes the NOAA transmissions, because it hasn't been giving me recordings lately. So something's gone wrong with it, I think, on the software end. I'll have to see if we can fix that. Trying to see if I can get up and down this. I don't really want to kill the pumpkin here. This is all volunteer pumpkin that grew from last year's jack-o'-lanterns in the compost pile. All right, where was I going with this video? I have this other WineGuard Traveler dish that I picked up on Facebook Marketplace. I think I paid 50 bucks for this. If you look around long enough, you can find good deals like this. The WineGuard Traveler has been a really good dish for just automated use up on the roofs. So I'm hoping this one will work just as well. It's a slightly newer model. It uses a slightly different control interface, but I'm hoping I can still hack into it. It also has a slightly smaller reflector. I could put a bigger dish on it, or I think the reflector that's on here is going to be big enough for L-band, at least for low Earth orbit satellites. So the S-band WineGuard carryout uses this interface box, the indoor unit, which is connected down through this serial RS-232 to 485 interface down to a laptop. So I use that to run the dish, and then I listen to it with another software-defined radio here. I've been using the NOAA Hacker F1, and I really like it, but it is a little bit more expensive than the ones I have in the silver box, those RTL SDRs. So this new dish has a newer indoor unit, and this one does not seem to have the serial interface that the other one does. It does have a Ethernet port, and it has a USB port, so I might be able to talk to it with those and make it do things it was never intended to. And this one also came with the power supply. We've got a manual, and we've got, well, this is basically e-waste because I don't watch TV, so I won't be using the dish receiver at all. It's giving me some extra info on the screen here, like a IDU software, a MAC address. It's talking to the ODU, the outdoor unit. There's another brain inside the turret here, so that's the ODU. All right, so I didn't do anything foolish like read the manual. I just started pushing buttons on the control here. This has more options than the other one. Service mode. Whoop, now the dish is booting up. I don't think I actually want it to swing around in here. I don't think it has room, so we're gonna have to pull the plug on it in a moment. So there's no serial port to hack this little thing. I tried hooking up a Ethernet cable to see if I could telnet into it or SSH into it. No luck there, but it does have a couple USB ports, so I'm going to hook that up with a double-ended A to A cable. It's just USB-A on each end. That's worked for a couple other dishes I've played with, and then we're going to try to connect to TTY ACM0 from Linux. And we're in something. Let's give it a question mark. There we go. We've got a menu on the WineGuard indoor unit. So this is all looking very similar to the other one that I've used. This one actually has Wi-Fi credentials, so we might be able to set up a Wi-Fi network and then SSH into the thing, but for now we'll just use the USB connection. Now this is a little different in that I think I'm actually talking to the indoor unit. Normally it's just a dumb terminal, and I'm actually talking to the outdoor unit with the previous versions, but in this one, it looks like we have to actually tunnel through to the outdoor unit if we want to get the motor commands. Or maybe I have to do the actual brackets? I'm not sure how to get into this thing. Well, we've tried question mark. Let's try help. Looks like that's exactly the same. Okay, well, as usual, WineGuard did their user interface and help menu last, and it's a little wrong. I've run into that before. The help menu isn't always 100% correct, but We actually want to enter these in lowercase, not uppercase, the way it seems to be saying here. So if I do ODU, now we're in the ODU menu. And now we are talking to the dish turret, and we have all of the regular commands that I'm used to, the motor, and the peaking and the searching and all that good stuff. Let's see, we should be able to go over to mote, and we can run our azimuth, elevation, and skew motor. And again, I'm pretty sure they screwed this up. I think it's supposed to be a triplicate of azimuth, elevation, and skew, not azimuth, skew, elevation, but I'm used to that from the prior one. Whoever wrote the help menu here wasn't paying attention to the actual programming. Just to make sure I know what I'm talking about, I'm going to try to send it to 90-degree azimuth. And let's try 30 degrees elevation. Well, so far the Pro is basically identical to the earlier travel in the commands that it uses. The only difference is you have to tunnel through the indoor unit to get to the outdoor unit brain. So if I use my same control software for this, I'll have to make a couple little adjustments. So I'll probably have to do a whole new version. All right, so I think the only difference that I need to do in my Python code is add this line to send the connection to the outdoor unit, and then everything else I think is the same. I could be completely wrong. I'm not actually good at programming, so, but let's try this. All right, I'm firing up gpredict satellite tracking software, and I'm gonna see, will this track an imaginary satellite? It's not gonna receive anything in the garage, but let's see if the software can run the dish without whacking me in the head. So far, no luck. I knew that seemed easier than it should be. It's working, and I don't know what I did any different, but it's working. That's always how my programming projects go. I do nothing and they work fine. I make a bunch of changes and they don't work. This one's a little slow to increment the elevation. I think it's a little slower than the old Winegard Traveler, but it seems like it still works. It might just be a little bit slow to catch satellites that are going directly overhead. Anyway, yeah, my code seems to be working. That's probably the easiest code modification I've had to do. I just add one line. I don't even have to run the init script because I think I've got this thing stuck in service mode now. I don't actually know how to get out of service mode, so I'm just going to leave it alone. So I'm going to replace the KU band television feed with an L band feed. That is 1.7 gigahertz, where this one is like 12 gigahertz. All right, I've got my helical feed lovingly zip-tied into position here at the focal point. Now this is a wooden feed. As I said earlier, this is kind of made with basswood on a laser cutter. I've sprayed a bunch of coats of clear coat on it to try to weatherproof it, so hopefully that lasts. Coincidentally, we have a near perfect directly overhead pass of NOAA 19 coming up in just 18 minutes, so I better get everything set up and we'll see if we can catch this on L-band with the new dish. I've stuck the new dish up on the garage, kind of over in the middle there. It's just sitting there for now. Eventually, maybe we'll give it a little stack of milk crates like the S-band dish. All right, we should have the control set up all ready for a test run. We've got the laptop, we've got the NOAA Hacker F1, we've got the indoor unit. Let's make sure I can still control that dish. Yeah, I'm still having issues with that, and I still don't know why. Okay, it's moving. Maybe it's just a little slow here. Let's go ahead and track NOAA 19, see if it'll come back around to the south. Okay, well, it seems like that's working. So I still have a few bugs to iron out here. Something's weird here. I'm getting an HRPT signal on NOAA 15's frequency, 1702.5 megahertz. I'm not getting anything on NOAA 19's frequency. And NOAA 15 shouldn't even be above the horizon right now. So I'm not quite sure what's going on. If the TLE files are messed up on here, that happens occasionally. Yeah, the N2YO website says NOAA 15 is going over, where gpredict on the computer thinks NOAA 19 is in that orbit. So I think those TLE files are messed up again. Every now and then the tracking files from Celestrak or from NORAD just get scrambled and gpredict gets all confused about which satellite is where, and I think that's happened again. I double checked, and yes, gpredict had some kind of a timing issue, so it was giving me the wrong TLE data. And yes, I know there's a new satellite tracking program called Skyroof. About 87 people have emailed me about it, and I just have not had time to even look into it. If the darn US government would chill out with destroying its own satellites for 5 minutes, then maybe I'd have time to film something else and look into this Skyroof thing. But I'm already cramming about 3 different projects into this video, trying to catch up with the NOAA 15 and NOAA 19 shutdown, trying to get that L-band tracker going, trying to fix the Raspberry NOAA setup. So I'm already overbooked on this video. Maybe we'll do Skyroof in a future video. Alright, it's taken all day and had a bunch of errors and had to reflash Raspbian like 4 times, but I think we've got Raspberry NOAA reinstalling up on the roof of the garage in that Raspberry Pi. I'm trying to set up 2 laptops to get 2 different bands. I want the S-band and the L-band downlink from NOAA 15, which is coming up here in about half an hour. gpredict on one laptop has again decided that NOAA 15 and 19 are swapped. I don't know why it's doing that. It's very frustrating, but it seems like the orbits are basically the same in here. So hopefully I'll still be able to get the data. And yeah, I'm really scrambling to get all this done. I heard about this while we were in Alaska. We just got back to Minnesota, and I've had basically less than a week to work on this. And I've been trying to get the L-band antenna set up, trying to get the other laptop set up. I've been wanting to do all 3 bands from these satellites. I've been wanting to do VHF, L-band, and S-band simultaneously, and this is basically my last chance while there are still satellites transmitting weather data on those 3 bands. So if I want to get this done, it basically has to be today, because NOAA 15 dies tomorrow. It's getting decommissioned, shut down tomorrow as I film this, and maybe as I release this. So August 12th, no more NOAA 15. August 19th, no more NOAA 19. So this is kind of the last chance to do anything with these satellites. I did try to get some of this data when we were in Alaska. I tried to get the APT signal, the VHF signal, from the NOAA series when we were up in Southeast Alaska. I had some issues with that. I was trying to use a HackRF1 Portapack, which isn't ideal for that. And I got a little bit, but nothing really recognizable, unfortunately. Yeah, this laptop thinks NOAA 19 is coming up in 20 minutes. The other laptop thinks NOAA 15 is coming up in 20 minutes. Into.io.com agrees that it's NOAA 15, but somehow the TLEs have been swapped between gpredict instances, and I did read something online about some TLE data getting swapped on Cellestrack on the website that's the source for these. Yeah, I don't quite know what's going on, but... And that's another problem with this, is you get one laptop all set up exactly the way you want it, you jump through all the hoops, and you want to go to set up another one and you don't remember what all the hoops are, and all the documentation is slightly different because stuff like the TLE format has changed. Against all odds, I have the second laptop set up on the S-band, and I see some S-band, so we're going to get that recording. And this one's set up on L-band, and knock on wood, everything seems to be working so far. So for the first time here at Save It for Parts, we have 2 tracking dishes, both tracking the same satellite on 2 different frequencies. Plus we have the APT QFH antenna, which is out of frame. So we should be receiving 3 different radio transmissions from NOAA 15 right now. Or at least that's the theory. All right, we did it. We caught all 3 signals from NOAA 15 on one of its last passes before the government axes it. I don't know if they're great passes. We're running everything through SatDump to try to see how much data we got. There were issues with all 3 setups. The L-band system, NOAA 15 is very faint on L-band, so we might not get much out of that, but we did see a signal. So I was able to receive the signal. I'm going to call that good enough whether or not we got a picture from it. S-band, I was using the old HackRF that has a signal drop in the middle, so I was kind of recording it off to the side with a wider bandwidth, which means a bigger file. Anyway, we'll see if that one worked. And then the VHF system, That seems to work okay, but we do have some interference from my power over Ethernet here in the garage with security cameras. So as usual, it's a Save It for Parts project. None of the setup is at 100%. Everything's at about 80% maybe, but we'll see if that's good enough. Even my camera setup is having issues. The camera has 9 minutes of battery left and a foot fell off the tripod. So like I said, we are rushing and rushing to get this finished at the last minute, and all the quality control, what little quality control I had to start with, has gone out the window. So here's what we got from NOAA 15 on VHF with the automatic picture transmission format. We've got this through Raspberry NOAA, so it does have the state line overlay that the software puts in there, but it looks pretty decent. We've got a little bit of offset from the Great Lakes. I'm going to have to go in there and adjust the timestamp a little bit. The timestamp on this still has some kind of an issue. The system is correct, the software is correct, but the web panel is off by an hour, and I don't understand why. So I've got a little more tweaking to do on Raspberry NOAA. Now here's what we got on L-band from the brand new tracking WineGuard dish. Kind of terrible, as I kind of expected. NOAA 15's L-band transmitter is pretty weak, so it never really puts out a very great signal. So we got something from it though, so that's pretty good. And then on S-band, I screwed up. I did not get the baseband recorded correctly. I was using a brand new laptop, a brand new installation of SDR++, and it was set to record to a non-existent root directory. So we don't have the baseband for the S-band transmission, unfortunately. That's my fault. I was rushing this. I was right down to the wire. I did not jump through every hoop correctly, and unfortunately I screwed up. But that's kind of part of the process when you're learning about satellites, when you're doing radio experiments like this. There's always some little gotcha along the way, and it takes several tries to get everything working correctly. So that's just part of the learning process, and you shouldn't be too disappointed when something like that goes wrong, because stuff will go wrong. I still have stuff go wrong, and I'm supposedly an expert at this. I'm not really an expert. I'm still just an amateur at all of this. I will try the 3 antenna thing again with NOAA 19, because that is still around for a couple days, but I think I'm going to wrap this video up because NOAA 15 is going to be shut down tomorrow, so I wanted to get this video out while people still have possibly a chance to listen to it. Now, you only get really a couple chances per day because this thing comes over in a kind of a 24-hour polar orbit, morning and afternoon essentially. So you should have 2 to 3 chances to pick it up with VHF. You can use just a Baofeng radio, you can use a ham radio, a scanner. Hopefully the government is done killing off scientific satellites and we can go back to doing regular videos. Getting a notification here. Oh good, the government has just announced they're axing some carbon dioxide satellites that aren't even at their end of life yet. They're just producing inconvenient data about global warming, so I guess those are going to get destroyed next. I can't make videos fast enough to keep up with the amount of science and research that the US government is just ruining these days, so even if the US has chosen to give up on the space race, I guess we can always get our satellite data from Russia and some billionaires. Every time I badmouth the government, one of these things shows up. Anyway, thank you to my Patreon supporters for helping me afford $50 satellite dishes on Facebook Marketplace. If you'd like to support the channel and help my secondhand junk addiction, I will put links to Patreon down in the description. If you'd like to see more detail about how I built some of these tracking antennas or some of the other satellite downlink stuff, there are a bunch of other videos on my channel. I'll throw some links to those down below as well so you can see how I modified the original WineGuard Traveler, how I built the QFH antenna, various stuff like that. Make sure to stay tuned to see what we come up with next. I will try to do some NOAA 19 stuff before that one gets killed off later in the week, and maybe we'll get into this carbon dioxide observatory satellite before the government kills that off too. I don't know if we'll be able to hear it, but we can at least look into it. Finally, thank you to everyone for watching, and we'll see you next time.